everybody, and welcome to Reed's Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Check us out at the SpiderManCrawlspace.com. Well, guys, I'm back. It's been a few weeks due to a couple of things, doing a little quarantine, a little errors, and of course trying to get to my own comic shop. And of course, I live in the wonderful state of Illinois, so we have a little bit of restrictions on here. So I've come to review all of our issues, going all the way from Amazing Spider-Man number 51 here to, of course, 52, and of course 53, and all of the Last Rites tie-in issues. So we are going to get this show on the road and kick it up a notch. Well, it'll just be, the fun times we are. So let's kick it all off with 51 here. So first of all, the pros. I really liked the fact this kind of picks up the story of why Spider-Man seeks out Doctor Strange after everything that happened to him in issue 50, and of course him trying to figure out what happened to everything in, of course, 50 Last Rites, where he was being attacked by the Order of the Web, who is now controlled by, of course, Kindred and all the sins that the Sin Eater ate up. It's really interesting too, but these issues actually work pretty well into themselves, actually doing the prelude of what happens in issue 50, leading to why Spider-Man seeks out Doctor Strange for the help, as well as laying a little bit of the ground for issue 51LR, which I'll talk about here shortly. It's very interesting here. The artwork is very awesome by both Rosenberg and Gleason. They really get the mystical arts and a lot of the fun here with Doctor Strange, as well as the mystical systems here with the Order of the Web and the controls of the sins. But that also leads a little bit to the cons. Why Spider-Man picks up a lot of issues. He also does some, crazy things where, of course, once again, he decides to take things on own, not tell Doctor Strange all of the information on everything. So, of course, when he steals the hand of the Vashati, but thanks to Black Cat, he gets himself put into these little circumstances where he has to, go and fight Kindred all by himself, even though he doesn't know Kindred is actually, Harry Osborn. Another thing also, too, is the issue 50LR has an interesting piece as it really picks up what happened to Norman Osborn after he's been cleansed by the Sin Eater, and explaining about some of the things to Dr. Kafka, as well as bringing up some pieces of bringing Mary Jane back into the storyline, which really redeems issue 50LR, why issue 51 really hooks up a lot of things. So to put that on in here, I'm going to give 50LR a B, due to the fact we have a lot of insight on what's been going on with the Order of the Web, and how, of course, Kindred started messing around with them using the sins, and of course Mary Jane's return, and a little introspective with Norman Osborn. While issue 51, I'm actually going to give a B+ to. I really like the storyline and the setup of how Doctor Strange gets going and works on everything with the storyline, even though it leads up to that. So on that note, let's move on over to issues, of course, 51LR, and of course then lead into issue 52 and 52LR. So let's get into the pros for 51LR. First of all, it's really nice bringing everything together about how Doctor Strange gets the Order Web back under control, as well as some of the pieces of Black Cat's little area. But it really does very well of how the Order of the Web, how they were manipulated so easily by Kindred, and of course how they were able to put in. It also brings up some interesting things about actually finding out what happened to the Sin Eater. While there's a lot of things that happen with it, we still are a little kind of confused how he got kicked out by Kindred and shows back up with his followers, and of course Sylphine Kindred as the savior who he's got to get back in good deals with. And the introduction into, of course, Morlun returning is a very interesting take, which kind of leads a little bit into issue 52. But at the same time, you kind of wonder how that's going, especially after we saw Spider-Man's little tackle in the Astro world, and of course seeing about all the things that happened a lot. Nick Spencer seems to give a really nice little nod to a lot of J. Michael Straczynski's Spider-Man with the two issues. And of course, everything with 52LR also works very well, as we see Black Cat's little pieces, why she took the hand, and of course why Doctor Strange was saying about how everybody was an idiot, and now he's going to have to help Spider-Man get things fixed out. So 51LR is actually not a bad story, and I'll give it a B because of the introduction. But then going into issue 52 itself is really great, as Spider-Man finally faces Kindred in a no hards battle, as he sees what happened to the pieces with the Order of the Web, trying to get everything set up, and of course Peter deciding to realize he has made a big mistake, and he does not want to see his friends hurt and innocent, and gives himself up for Crinder, because the battle with Kindred is extreme bad, as well as the pros pieces of him being face-to-face, seeing all the bodies of all the loved ones and people he's failed. But of course, it leads a bit of the cons as Peter jumps into this head first with really not protecting, where he could have had Doctor Strange ready to go in issue 52LR before Crinder, of course, snaps his neck, and of course he is defeated even though the Order of the Web is saved. And of course Doctor Strange has to pick up the last of the Order of the Web, basically tell even how Julia Carpenter is an idiot, as well as the world's worst psychic, as well as the Order of the Web not doing smart things too, which kind of leads to the cons. It feels like these are all really padded, guys. Like you get the main story here at Spider-Man and Kindred, but if you don't pick up this, you don't understand what's going on with the Order of the Web, how they're free. You're not even seeing Sin Eater's big ploy about using his followers to mutate themselves thanks to Spider Island, so they can get Morlun up, because he's going to cleanse Morlun and get back in the area. It kind of feels like it's kind of thrown in, and why Spencer really does a nice job of kind of connecting all the stories together. Like I said, it just leads to a lot of confusion, and you're kind of like, whoa, if I didn't get this, I wouldn't know that happened. If I didn't know that, then I wouldn't know this happened. Wait, how did that happen? What does this lead to? While they're not bad stories, it does lead to just a lot of thrown together pieces in it, which kind of leads into everything else. I'm actually going to give both 51LR and 52LR solid Bs, because they have great little character arcs, actually calling up a lot of the previous problems and helping and continue moving the Sin Eater plot along. But I'm going to give an A- to issue 52, because the actual battle and Peter being Peter between Harry Osborn as Kindred is pretty, first of all, brutal, as well as everything that happens in the story. And Peter, of course, falling on to help everybody else. And, of course, the little cliffhangers as Peter is taken to Kindred's lair to face the truth, as they say, we have a deal. So that's what I'll get. And on issue 53, everybody, let's get into the pros on issue 53. First of all, the artwork by Mark Bagley is phenomenal. Despite some issues with faces and a couple other pieces, the nods to One More Day and, of course, Kindred trying to make Peter face what happened to him after the deal him and Mary Jane made with Mephisto is very dark and Asian, and why it's really reminiscent of what's trying to go on. And of course, Kindred trying to have Peter face about the mistake and the deal with the devil as he's come. That kind of leads to the cons. First of all, as I said, the faces with Mark Bagley are a problem, as Harry Osborn looks a lot like Norman Osborn versus the fact of the difference between the two. And another piece, of course, going is the issue reads just extremely fast. Unlike other issues like issue 52 or even the LR tie-ins, there's enough story in there to where it reads at a good pace, but actually keeps the plot going. All of a sudden, 53 feels like, well, here's what happened. Let's relive One More Day and omit a bit, and then that's it for the story with the big revelation, Peter. I'm Harry Osborn, and it's a mask! Aren't you shocked? The readers knew, but not you. You didn't know, and now you know. Gotcha! Gotcha! And that's all she wrote. So that actually brings the story down to there. I'm going to give that a B, a solid B, because while it does a lot of tie-in, I am tired of the story dragging. Let's get to the point. And now, of course, we have to wait for issue 53LR to find out what even happened to the Order of the Web and Doctor Strange, and why we're seeing Mary Jane show up, as well as what is Sin Eater going to do with Morlun, because that plot's all over there too, to lead to issue 54 and 54LR before this storyline is all over with issue 55. So it's quite the pieces. So those are my grades, guys. Wow, that's a lot of Spider-Man in short time, with a lot of A's and B's and a lot of story. But I have to say this, right, guys, I do want to see how this all ends and what it's going to lead to. And really, is Kindred really Harry Osborn, even though Mary Jane talks about how his life has been pretty good? Or is it just a manifestation of all of Peter's sins and everything that's happened of him unable to face it? I guess we're going to find out here in the jolly old month of December. And on that note, guys, I will be back next week to talk about, of course, 53LR and the symbiont Spider-Man, King in Black. To make it a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving. And on that note, everybody, please check us out at the SpiderManCrawlspace.com. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and other social media forums. Join us out on Discord. And for any more information, make sure you click on the website listed, and I will see everybody on the Crawl Space.